Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video, and well, this video has been a long time. Some people say a week's a long time, but not a long time, but it is for me personally as an Essendon fan, I've heard a lot of the noise and I've compiled note after note after note after note here of 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 things that I've found out over the last week, and finally I've done enough, and now there's not. And now I've thought myself, it's enough. It's now finally time to release that all out to the public. Now, obviously, we all know. Obviously, last year wasn't that particularly a good ending to the season for Essendon. I mean, we ended with 13 straight losses. We ended up with we had about, I think, 16 debutants, which is a VFL AFL record, because of the amount of injuries that we suffered, and also didn't help the fact that after the season ended, we lost Sam Draper and almost lost our best player in Zach Merritt. So it was not, but we still ended up keeping him, which, in my opinion, I don't care. I don't care if you are. I don't care about. I don't care. We had the right to keep him. One, for the obvious number one. Two reasons. Number one, obviously, he was a contracted player, so we had the right to basically say, "No, we're going to hold you to your contract because you're a contracted player." And two, let's be real here. Hawthorn's offer was shit. It was terrible. I mean, who in their right mind thought that a second round pick, a future second round, and a VFL player would have gotten them over the line against Merritt? No. I would have, if I was that list manager and that offer would came to my desk, I would have rejected it without even looking at it for 5 seconds, or even 3 seconds. That's how terrible it was. I'm sorry to disappoint the gallant Hawthorn fans who are rising high. We're 2-0. I'm sorry, but it was a terrible deal. Let's move on. So, and I thought, to be honest, for the most season, we were going to finish at the bottom end of the ladder anyway. And against Hawthorn in round one, yes, we were competitive for a quarter and a half, but then Hawthorn, we just started exerting their dominance and just basically trampled over us in a 10-goal loss. And I didn't watch all that game. I watched all the third quarter, and it looked like, I thought, it's going to be 100 points easily. It's going to be 100 points. I was surprised it was only about 60. It's surprised it was only 63 points at the end of the day, the end of the night, because I thought it was going to be 100, to be honest. So yeah, but then we went to Port Adelaide, thinking that we're going to get a response from that against the team that we import in the power that should finish around us on the ladder to begin with, as predicted for most experts for the AFL community, the AFL world, and we didn't turn up in that first term. The only person that did turn up, especially in that second half, was one Nate Caddy. especially after when he missed a goal from freaking 3 meters out. Still can't believe about that. But yeah, but it was too late. Too late in the second half. We lost to the tune of 62 points, and it has. And the criticism has come down on Essendon like a ton of bricks, and so it should, because Essendon were, from the information I've heard and the footage that I have seen, it is not a good look for Essendon here. So I want to use this video to lay bare, one, the information that's already out there, but gather some information I've gathered that I've gathered so far. So yeah, so let's look at the stats that we all know now. All stats that we all know. 18 debutants in the last 12 months. Actually, as a matter of fact, 19 as I'm recording this. There's Jacob Farrow will debut for Essendon in the game against North Melbourne tonight, which I'm going to be watching Orbit because I want a actual response from them, from Essendon, to be quite honest. There. So yeah, and then the obvious one is the 15 straight losses. The longest losing streak currently in our club history is 17. That's going back to 2016. When basically that squad was basically filled with retired players and rejects. Just to put it lightly. So, and to think that this squad, yes, we've had youngsters that are inexperienced, but to have this is just, yeah. To be honest, with that, yeah. And for me, I want to shoot off the path for a minute here. I heard things about, they've got injuries, they've got players out, and all that. As far as I know, those words can take you so far. Take you so far. You can have as many injuries and as many youngsters in your team as you like, but if the effort isn't there, those excuses are going to get pushed aside. I'm sure of it, and it's not like this team. And I'll explain it. I'll tell about this in a minute. It's not full of youngsters. It's not full of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. It's got experienced players in this squad, which is and most of the criticism that's come out of the media this week has mostly been on the senior players. It's not been on the youngsters. It's been on the senior players. Or the coach for that matter. So yeah. But here's the statistics, I should say. Took a while to get that out. That I've found out that no one else has talked about. So Essendon started 0-2. This is only the 16th time in its 128-year history. 16th time in 128 years. As Essendon started 0-2, it is the 8th time since 2000 in the last 26 years now that we've started 0-2, and this is the second worst start for in its club history after two rounds in terms of combined losing margin. The worst start of after two games in terms of combined losing margin in the first two games was 2004, and look how that ended up. So yeah. But anyway, but this stat blew. That just stood out to me. This statistic, and this just shows how terrible we are. Terrible we are defensively. In the last 12 months, We have conceded 100 plus points by 3/4 time 9 times. 9 times. The second worst, this is even worse. The second worst on this statistic is North Melbourne and St Kilda 3 times. For us, 9. And that just leapt at me, and I'm like, wow, this is thing here. And obviously, and not surprisingly, so in the 8 quarters of football in 2026, we've only won 1, which was the 4th quarter against Hawthorn. By the time that stage, the game was well and truly over, and half of the 80,000 in the stands were probably gone. So yeah. So those statistics, those are just big, massive, really, in terms of that, and yeah, and then obviously, and yeah, so like it's so first off, the 0-2 start, it's rare that we lose our first two games in terms of a total club history, but now it's becoming a bit of a trend since 2000. To be quite honest, and yeah, it's and I think we've done that. I think 3 or 4 times in this decade alone. We did it in 2021 under Ben Rutten, and 22. Both times in both years under Ben Rutten, we went 0-2. Then we did the same. I think we did the same. Yeah, we did the same last year, and then this year as well. So it's 4 times in this decade alone that we have started the season 0-2, and yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Moving on to the information that was gathered, that was revealed on the Monday episode of Footy Classified this week. It was more clarified on the Tuesday's Footy Classified episode. It was revealed that new captain Andy McGrath had ordered all the coaching staff, everybody bar the 23 players and himself, to leave the rooms, to leave the room where the coaches and the players all that meet. He's ordered all of them to leave, so it's himself and the other 22 players, and apparently they have just aired out their grievances about what's going on, and it's rare, and it's astonishing that he's done that 2 games into being permanent captain. Yeah, yes, he did. It was a different situation when he took over as captain for the Anzac Day game last year. But now he's in 2 games into being a full-time captain. For him to need to do that is just unbelievable. It shows the leadership there, and he alongside the playing group, they would want answers as well to their own shit performance, and they just aired it out themselves, and apparently, according to Eddie, it wasn't all kumbaya and all that sort of stuff. It was actual real tense, actual real conversations that were actually made between those 23 players in that room. So yeah, so I think yeah, so I think for me, that's really, really shocking to see that. And also Zach Merritt as well, who just 6 months ago wanted out of the football club, and then all of a sudden he's now in this situation. So yeah, and the talk was he was going to talk about him extending his contract beyond the year or 2 that there was remaining on this current contract. I don't think that's going to happen now if things keep going like this. If things keep going like this, but yeah. So yeah. Disconnect with the higher ups now. it's very clear here. Now, Andrew Walsh. Now, I really wanted him to do a good job. Obviously, of course, me Pop and I, we always joke about him. Oh, he's the amateur boxer because he used to amateur box. During his footy career, he used or in the early stages of his footy career, he was boxing amateur in amateur boxing, so that's what we call him, the amateur boxer and that sort of stuff. But realistically, I wanted him to do a good job. But one thing I've learnt is Essendon has chronic PBS. You know what that stands for? You know what that stands for? President Bullshit Syndrome. Because, and I'm sorry, but he's now been caught up in it. And he hasn't been in the role for like 12 months. And he's already showing chronic signs of this. This disease, it is chronic, and we suffer badly from it. This is the scenario here. So I've actually written some quotes down here. So basically, this is what Andrew Walsh said. So I remember Tom Morris on the. I remember it was on the last episode of Footy Classified for last year. He said to him, about Zach Merritt, how can you convince him to stay if your team's not in a rebuild? I think that's what he said, and this is what he said. A couple of things that he said about it. He said, I'm not convinced around a of rebuild. It's not a rebuild of years away. While the talk around the media has been rebuild, rebuilding, rebuild, and yeah, and then also there's also another thing to mention about Andrew Walsh as well, which was not backed up by Brad Scott in the press conference. No, not those words. I'm not going to mention those later. This is what he said when he hauled all the players, all the coaching staff, all the club staff, everybody in. He said these fighting words, which are very fighting words, to be quite honest. We're leaning forward. We're not stepping back. We're not stepping back anymore. We're stepping into this. And then Brad Scott came out and said in the press conference after the loss last week against Port, said it appears we've taken a step back with the view to go forward. No wonder my fellow supporters and members are confused and angry. No wonder, because one person, the higher up, is saying one thing, and then the other thing happens. No wonder we are pissed off and confused, because this sort of thing happens. And it's not just and as I said, Andrew Walsh has not been the first, not the first one that's done this. It's a whole lot of these presidents have gone down this road and has not ended well. Most recently, Dave Barham, he was all about, I'm all about change. I'm all about change, about change and changing this and changing that. Excuse me, and changing this and changing that and changing that and changing this. 4 years later, when he resigns, it's basically worse than it was. Basically worse than when he first got in the presidency. So it was enough that basically he had to step down. And that's how Andrew Walsh got in the role. So basically, yeah, as I said, this whole disease of President's Bullshit Syndrome, it is chronic, and almost every Essendon president in recent times has suffered from it, and I mean, it's like if he had said, "Oh, we're in a rebuild," then that's fine, and that's fine. Then we'll be fine from it. We'll be all for it. But when he's come out and said, "Well, we're not in a rebuild," and then other people media is saying that we are in a rebuild, and the statistics show that we are in a rebuild, it just gets worse. Much. The words you say comes out as total BS. So don't get me wrong. I still want Andrew Walsh to succeed in the role, but and he did have a win when he said yes, we'll be keeping Zach Merritt and we'll welcome him to the club with open arms. Day one of preseason, they did do that, but since then he has taken fat L's since, and for me, I know what he knows he needs. I know he means well. He wants to hope for the players and for the coaches and for the supporters and for the members, but you can't say that we're not in a rebuild, and then people come out saying we are in a rebuild, and then also come out and say we're leaning forward to this journey. We're not taking a step back, and then Brad Scott's come out, and then your coaches come out and said we're taking a step back to possibly go a step forward. That is total BSing all your supporters and members already. And this fan base has suffered enough over the last 20 years. So yeah, so that is for me that in its finest as well. The club's draft and list management failings. Oh, where do I begin with this? Where do I begin with this stinking pile of shit? Well, let's start with the draft, shall we? Actually, no. Let's save the worst for last. Let's start with the list management failings here. I get 2020. I get Joe Danaher and Orazio Fantasia because Joe Danaher. You saw him in the second to last game. He and one of the times he was sitting on the fence while a set shot, which was definite proof that he didn't want to be there. So for me, it was enough to say, no, he's gone. He's definitely gone. He's got to go to Brisbane and that sort of stuff. Fantasia, I don't mind at the end. By the time he ended his time at Essendon, he wasn't really throughout 2020 and 2019, so he wasn't really pulling his finger out, to be quite honest, in terms of performing well. But even Connor McKenna, I don't fault him for leaving and then going to Brisbane and then basically being involved in a team that's basically won the last two premierships. I don't blame him because basically the reason why he left was because of the culture at the time. It was because of the culture at the time that and to be honest, and I'm glad he didn't come back to Essendon because he would have retired again back to Ireland 2 years in if he had returned to Essendon, let's say in 2023. And that's the truth because the culture would not have would not have been good probably. But that's me talking on being on the outside looking in. So yeah. The San one really hurt, to be quite honest. He was a guy that was consistently top 5 best players of the club for the 3 years he was there for. So, I remember when it was revealed that he was asked in one of the games against Brisbane, he was asked to basically match up on Charlie Cameron, saying, but he didn't agree on that. He basically refused to, saying, "Oh, I want to do my play off the half back line, run off the half back line," and that Cameron ended up kicking 4 goals, and we ended up getting smashed by 10 goals. So that kind of shocked me a little bit when that was first announced back then. That was about 2020 or something like that. I mean, like, oh, geez. He all he wants to do is play off the half back line. Then other than that, he doesn't want, if it's like a matchup job on a dangerous small forward, he doesn't want to do it. So yeah. But other than that, his play, it really did hurt for a period. It really did hurt when he went out and that, and then the others. I mean, and then these three, these two, in addition to Sard, these two really hurt back in 2023. Patrick Voss and Massimo. Why did we let those two go? Especially Pat Voss for nothing. And look at him now. He's one of the more important players in Fremantle's forward line. And we could have had him. And I don't think he even played a single senior game for Essendon as well, which makes it even more embarrassing. He and also Massimo D'Ambrosio. I mean, the year after he leaves Essendon, he almost becomes an All-Australian. I mean, and it's even more of a face palm. Absolute. I mean, 3 face palms there. Stringer, he wanted an extra year or so on his contract, but one thing I do credit Essendon for on this situation with Stringer was, remember when he signed that 4-year deal at the end of 2021, and then for 2022, 3 years, for 2020, so I think 3-year deal or the 3 or 4. 4 years, 22, 23, 24, or 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. And especially the 2 years, 22 and 23, he didn't have great years there. Unfortunately, considering that we basically that the forward line, that the movement of the ball was terrible for us back then, especially, and not so much. And in 2023, it was better, but he wasn't playing well in 2023. And then how ironically in 2024, in a contract year, he started pulling his finger out and started playing well. And then by that stage, he wanted 2 years. I think he wanted 2 or 3 years. But the club said no. We want you. You got to have you on 1 year. We're only going to offer you a 1 year deal, and that was a deal breaker for Jake. And that's when GWS came in and one of us, and he's pretty much performed well. And how ironically that his good mate Jane Laverty, a similar situation. He wanted extra couple of years in his contract. We didn't want him that. We decided we only a 1 year contract, thank you. And that was a deal breaker for him, and he decided to go to join GWS, where Stringer is. So yeah. And then Sam Draper. And I thought there was a lot of question marks during last year about is he going, is he not? He could. I think he will go. They're kind of saying he won't. then he re-signed, and then basically, he's like, nah, I'm leaving Essendon to go to Brisbane, and yeah, so yeah, because Draper, he was a definite fan favourite, definitely amongst the fans. The highlight, of course, was that goal that he kicked in 2022. That was outrageous against the Gold Coast Suns, where he ran from the centre circle, ran around about 2 or 3 Suns players, and then basically did a boo na na, and basically, and when you have Eddie Betts saying that's goal of the year, you're definitely going to win goal of the year, and he definitely did, and he deserved it. So yeah, but those were the failings there. I mean, if you look at Joe Danaher, of course he won a premiership he fought consistently well with Brisbane. I don't think he even missed a game when he was at Brisbane. Probably missed a game or two, but rarely missed. Fantasia, he was good to a degree with Port Adelaide. Then his form dropped like it was at Essendon. Then he went to Carlton, and I don't know if he's still at Carlton or not. I think he is. I don't know. I might have to check that at some point. But yeah, and then McKenna, the same thing. He was a part of the premiership with Brisbane, and then Sard, obviously, he was a part of that successful 2023 finals series for the mighty Carlton. So yeah, and then Pat Voss, obviously, we all know what he's done. Massimo D'Ambrosio, we all know what he's done. Jake Stringer, you all know what he's done his first year at GWS. And Draper is TBD because basically he's still out injured and that sort of stuff. So yeah. Now for the draft. This is the biggest stinking pile of shit that I've seen here. So to start off with here, we'll start off back in 2015 when we had picks 5 and 6, and we picked 5 Darcy Parish and pick 6 Aaron Francis. And why don't we look and see look very quickly and what they could have had with them. So with those, so basically, these are the names here. They could have chosen these names here. They could have chosen could have chosen the likes of Harry Mackay, Charlie Curnow, not Eric Hipwood, but yeah, Harry Himmel, not Harry Himmelberg, like Tom Duday, Ryan Burton. And you know what's embarrassing as well? Another 3 names, which are actually these last 3 names, which are actually at Essendon right now, were drafted with Parish and Francis. That is Gresham. That is Jake Gresham, Ben Mackay, and Braden Fiorini. Those 3 could have been at Essendon much earlier than right now. So. That as well. And also there's some others as well, like some others as well. If I can just mention as well, like Blake Hardwick, Oleg Markov, what is it? Jordan Dawson, even though more than likely Dawson could have gone to Adelaide much later anyway. So that's and also Nathan Broad as well. So so those are the names we could have drafted instead of basically Aaron Francis, who would go on to leave the club to go to Sydney. So yeah. Even though there was rumours for a long time, he was going to go back to his home state in South Australia. Ouch. But anyway, then the next year we ended up getting our current captain, Andrew McGrath, at number one. These are the players, especially in the first round, that we could have gotten. Especially in the first round, we could have gotten instead of Andrew McGrath. So that is basically these: Tim Taranto, Hugh McCluggage, Will Setterfield, who's also at Essendon as well. Sam Petrescu-Seaton, Jack Scrimshaw, who is now an important player at Hawthorn. Will Brodie, who was rumoured for years to go to Essendon, but that never happened. Jai Simpkin, Todd Marshall, Sam Powell-Pepper, and Timmy English, and Will Hayward. So yeah, and then the next year we ended up trading away our first round pick to get Devon Smith, and most of our picks to get in not only Smith but Sard and Stringer as well. And then the next year, and then the next 2 years, we didn't have a single, well, for the next 3 years, if you count 2017, 18, and 19, we didn't have a single first round pick because of the Smith deal, and also involved in the Dylan Shield deal, because we gave away pick 9 and the 2019 future first round pick, which could have been pick 14, for Dylan Shield. And look at this now. Pick 14. Remember pick 14. Pick 14. We could have gotten some of these names. Could have gotten Cody Waitman. Could have gotten Mitch Georgiades, Sam De Koning. Who else is there? Who else is there down here? Charlie Comben, Chad Warner. Like we chose Nick Bryan before Chad Warner. How does that happen, for God's sake? So yeah, but anyway, then in 2020, because of Danaher's, Fantasia, and Sard wanting out the door, we ended up getting picks 7 and 8, which turned out to be, along with our original first round pick, which was moved back to picks 8, 9, and 10 because of the those bloody freaking academy draft picks, and also father sons as well. We ended up drafting Nick Cox, Archie Perkins, and Zach Reid with picks 8, 9, and 10. Which Nick Cox, he's had injury problems. He impressed in his first season, but he hasn't been seen since because of injuries and that. Archie Perkins, he's pretty much had one great game, which was round 1 a few years ago against Hawthorn. Other than that, he's just and he's pretty much, and I think he's overrated as a midfielder. Essendon wants to rate him as a midfielder, but he's not really. He's basically a player who likes to operate in that high half forward role, pretty much. Then Zach Reid, he showed glimpses last year as an intercept marking defender until he injured his ankle and was out for the rest of the year after that. Which to go with a lot of things, a lot of early career injuries that he suffered. So yeah. Then the next year, we had a first round pick. We had pick 13 which was we got Ben Hobbs, who has now been delisted. So hang on here. So I mean, look at these. Look at these here. We could. Look at these guys here. They could have had Darcy Wilmot. They would have had They could have had Kai Lohman. Who else is there? Connor McDonald. Who else there? Mitch Owens. They could have got. They could have had. Marcus Winhager as well. And he was drafted after Essendon's pick with pick 46. So yeah. So we could have had a lot of them there, but we chose Ben Hobbs instead, who is now delisted as well. And then after the shit year we had in 2022, we had pick five, which look at these. Which we could have chosen. We could have chosen the likes of. We could have chosen Bailey Humphrey. We could have chosen the likes of Ken McKenzie, Jai Clark, Ruben Jimby, Mateus Philippou. Jasper Fletcher. Well, not Jasper Fletcher. No, because there was no way that could happen. But Ollie Hollins. We could have had Josh Weddle. Little Darcy Jones, and all that. We could have had those, but instead we decided to go for Elijah Tsatas, and a guy that has rarely gotten into the senior team, and when he's got into the senior team, he has gone simple as that. So yeah, and most likely will be another one that will be a victim to the realm that is the delistment. So yeah, and then this year we traded up the draft count, which is rare for us, and because of that, we picked 10. We ended up getting Nate Caddy, who has been a shining light for us, for us this year. He's really, he hasn't had the breakout year yet, or a breakout season yet. Hopefully he does before the lure of Tasmania. Hopefully doesn't come to him. But anyway, and then last year. We ended up trading. We could have had picks 9 and 12, if I remember rightly. But we ended up trading pick 9 to Melbourne. I do understand that to get that academy bid in for Isaac Kako. But that pick 9 ended up for Melbourne. They ended up choosing Xavier Lindsay, in that who is basically going to be regarded. Probably it would be a good could have been a good player for Essendon, but instead he's going to be a good player for Melbourne. So yeah. So that is. So that is the state of that draft, the draft and list management. That is the stinking pile of shit. That is that really, to be quite honest with you there. But yeah. So next up, now I've had this for quite a while. And for a while, I thought, am I the only one who thinks this? But I think for me, it's starting to become more and more clear that Brad Scott's days as Essendon coach are now starting to be numbered. To be quite honest here. Now, when they were 6-4, before the injuries hit, would we have turned that? Would that have turned into a finals campaign? We'll never know. We'll never know with that now. But for me here, this is the evidence here on why Essendon should be, why I think for me, Brad Scott's, should be, evidence for Brad Scott would be sacked, and not maybe towards the end of the season, and not probably mid-season like it's been talked about a couple of times throughout the media and that. But also what I'm going to do is throughout the screen here, I will be right about now going to show on the screen some statistics that I'm going to read out here. So here it is here. So here it is. So coaches that have conceded 100+ points in games since 2017. Worst bowled for 4 years. That happened during 21 times. Ben Rutten. Yes, not a fair statistic not fair on him because he only was in the role for a couple of years. 13 times, and Brad Scott 23 in his first four and a bit years at the club. Now here's the big thing here. So this is all to do with defense, not about midfield, not about forward. This is all about defensively. Here it is. So here it is here. So scores against. We were ranked 6th. We were the third worst defense in 2022 under Ben Rutten. Then Brad Scott took over in 2023. Its best has been fourth worst defense in the competition, but 2025 it dropped back down to the third worst, and now we're the worst after 2 games. Most definitely. Goals per inside 50 against. So we were the second worst in that statistic under Ben Rutten in 2022. In 2023, this improved the total amount under Brad Scott to around the middle of the pack, which was 11th. And then it dropped off in 2024 to the fourth worst, and then also same in 2025, and now we're the second worst in the statistic in 2026 after 2 games. Scores per inside 50. We were 16th in 2022 under Ben Rutten. Then the same thing. Then Brad Scott. So if you look at these statistics here, I've noticed one trend with these here, where they improve a little bit. They improve a little bit, and then eventually it plateaus, and then it goes down. It goes back down. That's what it has gone towards. Pressure acts. Pressure acts. It has. It's improved, and then it's dropped down there. But for me, I think for me that's why I think they need to move on from him, at least at the end of next season, maybe the end of this season, because we're now starting to see the drop off in terms of all the statistics, especially defensive wise. It's for me, it's not made the progress in these statistics that we all thought when Brad Scott took over at the end of 2022. So I think in terms of all these statistics, I think for me that it's a clear evidence that I think he should get the sack. I know it's a bit strong for me, but something has to change, to be quite honest with you there on that front. And if so, it leads on to the next point. Segue. Who should replace him as coach? Now, I separated this into established coaches, which coaches that have previously been in the system but that are currently out at the moment, and then assistant coaches, which are current assistant coaches, which are aspiring to be senior coaches in the future. So according to established coaches here, Ken Hinkley and Adam Simpson, and also I've got to put his name down, but John Longmire as well. I would have put Simon Goodwin into this, but I don't think he'll leave Sydney for the coaching job again, especially after the debacle he had in the last couple of years in Melbourne at Melbourne. So that's why I left his name out. But yeah, but if I were to choose one of the established coaches to take over from Brad Scott if needed, I think it's Ken Hinkley, because especially if we're in a rebuild. I mean, look at what he did when Port Adelaide brought in Butters, Dismal, Rosie, Georgiades, all these youngsters within 2 years. They were the best in the competition during that COVID year. During that COVID year, they were the best by far. So he does have he can with that in mind, and then also he can also coach established players as well, senior players as well. So he has that mix where he can coach a team full of youngsters, and yet also he can coach a team full of established players. So he can do that. So then you got first time coach, assistant coaches never been in it before. Now we've already had this with Ben Rutten, but we haven't looked at an first time coach outside the Essendon fold. I mean, we did that with Run, but he'd been in there for a couple of years anyway at Essendon before he moved into the senior coaching role in 2021. No, I'm not counting 2020 because basically it was a dual coaching between him and John Worsfold. So yeah, I'm not counting 2020. So yeah, but there's room heavy. There's been links to Corey Enright. There's been links to Ashley Hansen, Hayden Skipworth, who's a Collingwood but used to be at Essendon as an assistant under John Worsfold. Jamie Graham in the past has been linked with a coaching job. I think that was during the time before they appointed Brad Scott, and then Josh Drummond, who's been pretty successful as Gold Coast VFL coach, I believe, and took them to that VFL premiership in 2023. Maybe he would want to take on the role at a big club like Essendon, maybe. So yeah. But out of all those, potential first time coaches, for some reason I'm sorry, Geelong fans, but I like and look at Corey Enright. I think for me, I mean, if we can't get Ken Hinkley, if we can't get him, then we should poach Corey Enright, because I feel like for me, Geelong sees Corey Enright as a future replacement to Chris Scott when he hangs up his coaching hat. So I think for me that could be that. So if we can poach him under St Kilda and Geelong's noses, then that could work well, because he knows what it's like. To, because as a player he was successful, and then he was. I think he was an assistant to Chris Scott at Geelong before he went to St Kilda. So yeah. So I like the look of Corey Enright, but Josh Drummond, I think he's a bit of a wild card because of his success as the VFL coach of the Gold Coast Suns. So yeah, but for me, I think Ken Hinkley. I think he's the top guy on the list for me because of his record, because he has a very good record of coaching teams that have a mix with youth and experience. So yeah. Speaking of that, segue. Your season strategy for the next 2 years here. So first off, delisting already. I think for me, I think Elijah Tasadas, I think he's gonna get delisted. I think he does. As I said before, he hasn't had his opportunity. He hasn't had many opportunities, and when he's had opportunities, he hasn't taken them. So he's had too many opportunities. So for me, in my opinion, I would delist him straight up, which is unfortunate because we took him with pick 5, which we could have gotten Bailey Humphrey or whatever. Peter Wright, I think for me, it's unfortunate because ever since his best and fairest year in 2022, he hasn't been the same player. He hasn't been the same, which is unfortunate. And I think for me, I think for me, he's just got no confidence now, and I think it's time for him to be cut loose by Essendon. I mean, he had a good run. He had a good run towards the end of 2021 and also in 2022 there, but since then he's not been the same player ever since. And Jackson Pryor, to be honest, I think he's gone because I've never liked him in that role. As a defender, I've never liked his role there, to be quite honest, and I think he'll leave. I think, and then the guys that are going to be out, especially in terms of trade and free agency here, I've underlined these guys here, and I think some Essendon fans might go, whoa, calm the F down there, but watch it by the end, it does make sense. So here we go. So, for example, Darcy Parish. If there was rumours of him previously a couple of years ago about going to Geelong. He's been a good servant with this club. He's been a great servant over the last 10 or 11 years. Been a great Essendon person. Time for him to head back, but it's now time for him to head back to Geelong. Finish off his career at where he started where he got his name. Started out with in Geelong. Let him go to the Cats there. Kyle Langford, same thing. A great servant. But I think let him go. Let him explore his options. Zach Merritt, if the Hawthorn rumours go up again, I don't think we should. I don't think now we should. I don't think we should let him go. I think we should demand. I think we should demand 2 first-round picks and a future first for him. Jordan Ridley again as well, great servant of the club, but we can't stop him from wanting. And it's the same thing. I think it's like the same thing as Australian. Really, he's had all of his body. He hasn't played much games. And also, he's at a club where they're not going to have success anytime soon. So Send him off to Brisbane where he will be pretty successful in that as well. And then the next year in 2027, Mason Redman's going to be off contract because that 4-year contract will run out. And I think for me, he'll go back to South Australia. He's going to go to Adelaide. I think it's going to be at that, and so I think he'll have compensation, which we don't know if it's going to be like first round or second round. Let's say it is first round. So with all those, we let Parrish go, Langford go, Merritt go, Ridley go. At the end of this year, I would expect for us to have, just try and get first round picks in. Try to go into a proper go into a rebuild here. That is what I think would be the case for me, because for me, at least here, and if as I said, if we are doing if we are in a rebuild, we might as well do it properly and do what Richmond did, get in our first round picks before Tasmania come in, and get some young talent in. So if we do end up down the bottom end of the ladder for the next 2-3 years, then we have a lot of young players to build ourselves around alongside of these established players. And there's been a lot of rumours that we're trying to go after Zach Butters. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see that. I mean, why would Zach Butters go from a team that's potentially could potentially be on the way to bottoming out to a team that's already bottoming out? Why would that happen anyway? But I find it more interesting to have Zach Bailey there. Try and convince him to be a part of this future, part of Essendon's future. Try and convince him otherwise to sign this massive deal. From what I've heard, it's about $1.5 million a season over about I think about 4 or 5 years. I think it was. So yeah. So I think with that, I think try and get him in there as well. Which takes us to the crunch game against North Melbourne. So of course Jacob Farrow is another debutant for this game tonight. And then you got Archer May coming in. Jay Gresham, Saad El Houli, and Archer Day Wicks are coming in. The two forced changes, of course, Mason Redman is out for 4 to 6 weeks. With the I think it was a hamstring injury. I think it was out of the game against Port, and then Dyson Sharp as well. And then the three guys that are in, of course, Jaden Newland, I think that's how you say it. Max Kundajanis and Hassan El Hakka. I think that's how you say it. So and when I first saw this, I went into this before the lineups were announced, thinking, we could have some hope here against North. When I saw this, I wasn't happy because I was expecting the response of like a couple of senior players getting the axe from this lineup here, but at the end of the day, but instead it was the opposite. It's clearly youngsters that have made way. And we've added another senior player in Gresham, by the way. So some of these players some of these senior players really need to pull their freaking fingers out, because if they don't, then we're facing 0-3 and even more of a crisis than we already do. So that is for me pretty grim here. And if we lose this game, then to sum this up here, if we lose this game, we got the Western Bulldogs next week, which is an instant 100-point loss there. Then we got Melbourne, who was rejuvenated under Stephen King. Then we got the ladder leader. Then we got ladder leader Gold Coast. Then we got Collingwood on Anzac Day. Then the two-time reigning premiers Brisbane. Then we got GWS. Then we got Fremantle. Then we got Richmond and West Coast, which are winnable games. Then we got Carlton on King's birthday eve, and then we got the Melbourne game again. So we could be in for. If we lose to North Melbourne tonight, I could see us going 0-10, losing our first 10 games the way we're going, because and I said earlier, this is a squad that is not full of, as I said, it's not full of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. And it's got merit. We got merit. We got McGrath. We got Caldwell. We got Durham. We got 2 meter Peter. This is not a side that is full of kids. There is a handful of established players, senior players who should be leaders, and they are not doing that right now. And that's what got me pissed off when I looked at the outs. I was expecting a big name or two to be omitted from this squad tonight, but no, we didn't. Basically, the ones that got left out are the young players. So yeah, so I have no idea. So yeah, so it's looking grim, to be quite honest, as an Essendon fan. It's looking pretty grim. I'm going to be watching all 4 quarters and all 2 hours of this game tonight, because I just want a response, a proper response this time. From the first 2 weeks, and as Gary Lyon put it on AFL 360, it's 360 on Monday. It's there is nowhere else to hide. There's nowhere to hide if either Essendon or North Melbourne lose this game. Simple as that. So yeah, that's simply putting it mildly in that respect. So yeah, so that's it for this video. A long one and a long time to do, but I wanted to acquaint some information regards to the decline in Essendon, and why I think for me Brad Scott should go. And then obviously the failings of the draft, the failings in the trade period, list management errors, and what I think should happen. And I think for me here, if we're bottoming out, then we might as well it's our last chance to have a handful of first round draft picks before Tasmania come into the competition. It's the last opportunity, and this is our chance. So, and yes, I said those names. I said like some Merritt, Ridley, Parrish, Langford, all these guys they've been great players for us over the last couple of years. But it's gone to the point where we need to look at the future. We need to look at some young players that are going to be here for the next 10 years. So we might as well start that now instead of in another year or two. There. So like this video. Share this to anybody who is a fellow Essendon supporter. Comment down below. Comment down below if you're an Essendon supporter. Do you agree with my points? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me in saying Brad Scott's days as coach are numbered? Am I being harsh? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this matter. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. It really does help me out quite a bit. Apologies for not uploading recently. I will eventually upload. I will start to upload regularly as we get closer to the Easter weekend and also Gab around as well. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys all later.